Hey, hello everybody and welcome. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there. Thanks again for coming to our webinar. This is a sad day for us because this is our last webinar of the season. So I know that a lot of you will feel the same pain as I do as we take a small break from these and let everybody recharge and work on what they need to work on over the holidays. But I'm so excited to have the panel that we have today. And for all of you watching this and for all of you that are here tonight, to get to hear from these teachers and hear from their experiences about using gaming concepts, about esports in the classroom, and what a transformative approach to education this has been. So, panelists, I want to thank you so much for taking your time. I know you guys are all teachers as well. Taking your time out of your day to do this for us and with us. So we really do appreciate that. Uh, my name is Alex Herby, and I'm the education integrations manager at Generation Esports. I was a teacher for 10 years and taught gaming concepts and did esports at my high school. And now I work with Generation Esports to help bring all this information out to you guys. With me today is, like I said, our expert panel of teachers that are in the trenches right now doing it, and along with some co-writers of the curriculum, Dr. Christy Custer, Dr. Michael Russell. So we're going to go around and give some introductions. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your experience with gaming concepts, and if you're doing it either just as a class or you're doing it as an after-school program, or maybe both. So we'll start with Christy, and then I'll kick it around to everyone.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We're super excited. I was an educator for 24 years, spent 20 years at an at-risk school for at-risk students. And with my colleague, Michael Russell, wrote the gaming concepts curriculum and then went to work for Generation Esports. So excited to be here, excited to talk about gaming concepts and esports.
Absolutely. Let's go to Rebecca Darling.
Hi, I'm Becky Darling. I teach 7th and 8th grade math traditionally, but I also have a gaming concepts class here in Twilla, Utah, and I coach esports and drama and a few other things. But yeah, I love gaming. And so bringing esports and gaming concepts to the school has been like a dream of mine.
Awesome. Tim.
Hello, I'm Tim Conley. I teach at Frankfurt High School, which is a public school in Philadelphia. I primarily teach social studies and English, but this year I've been teaching one class of gaming concepts. We're a first-year program, so it's been really fun to kind of get things going, and I'm honestly still, we're still rolling things out bit by bit, so I'm sure I can share on how that's been going.
Perfect. And Rebecca McIntyre.
Hi, I've been teaching gaming concepts for 3 years now. We had one class the first year, 3 classes first semester, and then 4 classes second semester last year. And then this year we have 7 classes. I would love to expand it, but we just don't have the space for it yet. I don't coach, but we do have a team that's doing really well right now. Valorant's got first place recently in their bracket, and lots of good teams going on at Heights High School. I would love to continue it, but this will be my last year.
Very good. Awesome.
Kim, can I ask, do you coach also?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Do you coach an esports team also?
I teach drumline after school. I actually
Okay.
just came back, just got home from rehearsal before a performance tomorrow.
Yeah, because I know Becky and Rebecca, but you're newer to this, and so I wasn't sure if you were actually coaching esports or not. So good to know.
No, awesome. All right, Christy, you want to kick us off with some of the panel questions that we've got?
Sure, sure. I think I'll get started with Becky. I think we'll do it this way. And I think the way that we'll do this is we have some questions prepared for our teachers and coaches here, but we'd also love to take some questions from our audience. And so feel free as you have questions. Mike's running the chat. And Mike, do you want to introduce yourself real quickly, because you also taught gaming concepts and esports?
Sure. I taught Rebecca.
That's right.
This was awesome. So yeah, quick backstory. Yes, I taught gaming concepts for 5 years, and now work for Generation Esports as one of our education gurus, and help with the sales team, and still go around the country and talk to people about starting their own programs. So
Right. So so as we go, I think we're going to go ahead and ask these questions. And like I said, Mike will be running chat, but he'll also jump in if you have questions for the panelists. And we're going to ask the gaming concepts questions first, and then we'll kind of move into what
on the virtual process thing.
Sorry here. Let me do
Technical difficulties.
technical difficulties. There we go. So somebody jumped into my computer on the virtual office. So I'll get started. Becky, can we start with you? In what ways have you observed gaming concepts positively impacting students' academic performance and overall engagement in the school environment?
Sure. I think one of the biggest impacts that gaming concepts, and this is our second year, but our first year we started out with 9 sections, and we're about there now. Is the kids who, especially in middle school, the kids who don't have a place to belong, the non-drama kids, the non-athletes, they don't, it's tough for them. And so having gaming concepts and the SEL that's in gaming concepts, and having the esports teams give them a place to belong. And and I tell my kids as they go to high school that it's super important to find that belonging, but it's even more important in junior high, because it's just a hard time. So I think that's the biggest positive impact, are these kids that don't have a place to belong have a home now with me. They're a crazy nerdy person. And we have Kyle as well, who is also a coach and a gaming concepts teacher. And we use the middle school plan. I forgot to say that. But that's the biggest thing, is these kids have, it's improved their attendance. Their grades are better, because, I kind of check them and say, hey, instead of jumping online, let's go do an assignment. And so that really helps them as well.
Rebecca, the same question to you there. What ways have you observed gaming concepts positively impacting?
Well, really the same ways. Absolutely. These are kids that don't necessarily fit into any of the pegs that are out there for them, and this is getting them. But in addition, we're also getting kids across all lines, as far as, like, we got football players, and we have special ed, a ton of special ed kids, and they're all in the same spot. I was talking to a parent at conferences, and she said it perfectly. She goes, so gaming concepts is just kind of the great equalizer, right? And I said, yeah, that's exactly the way to say it. You can compete. Gender doesn't matter. Size doesn't matter. They all have good knowledge of what they're doing in gaming concepts, regardless if they're making A's or F's. And we use the same thing with our learning center, where we have kids that maybe have had an issue with a class and have failed it, and so they're taking it online. But it's all based on their desire to get it finished. Well, if we put I at least grab as many kids as I can that are doing learning center and say, you've got to do 10% a week. so you can get this class done. And it works. It works very well. They'll get that done at home just so they can play games when they get to school. And you know, people always ask, well, what do you do? Do you just play games all day? And they'll say, no, we do other things. We're supposed to learn how to be healthy. We're supposed to learn how to do things right and take care of ourselves. We don't always do it, but that's what we like to, we are learning it. So, I mean, it's in the back of their minds. They may not do it right away, but someday they're going to go, oh yeah, I was supposed to do it that way. So
Right.
it's been great.
And Tim, just because you're newer to this is your first semester teaching this, could you share some examples of challenging moments that you've faced when implementing gaming concepts in the classroom?
Sure. So I guess there's like kind of two challenges we faced so far, and both are sort of just like on a technical side. So just like getting all the equipment has been slow going, and it's we were able to get some Switches, Nintendo Switches, more quickly than the Xboxes that we ordered 11 Xboxes. We had 4 Switches, so yeah, we had to really learn how to share at first. We just as of today got the Xboxes hooked up with the internet, but the internet we aren't through the like security system at this point because we need to have like the school district approve having these consoles online. So Philadelphia is a huge school district. Getting any like thing sort of settled with tech downtown is a whole process. So we had someone from downtown with us today working through it. And so it's really sort of just been this trickle towards having the things that you would wish we would have had on day one. But I've done a donors choose, and I got way more money than I even put in for it. So I keep like it's not an issue of funding at this point as much as it is like the things actually arriving and being like 100% functional. But we're very close at this point.
Tim, we have entire webinars on tech. And so what were some of the things that, now that you've been through it, do you either wish you would have known or something that can help the new people that are on here? And actually Becky and Rebecca too, because you guys have been through it. You're both shaking your head. And I know Rebecca particularly because they're close to us. What are some things technology wise right off the bat?
Get the whitelist ports that are on Generation Esports. You can just search them, you print that up, and you get them to your IT department ASAP. We have the same issues though with our iBoss and in Utah. So, but yeah, get the whitelist there and really talk to your IT department, your head of IT. And a lot of times they get a lot of buy-in as well. And if they feel like it's something that it is important, then they work a little bit harder for us. And so we've been lucky for that. But just getting through the firewalls, that's been the hardest part. So go in armed with that information because there's a lot on the website.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And being friends with your IT department, we've said time and time again that is definitely your first move is to be friends with your IT department because they're going to be your go-to for a lot of these things. So for sure, those are good points. So we've talked about a little bit of the challenges. I know Tim mentioned the challenges about getting the equipment in, and we've kind of talked about some of the benefits. But when you think about gaming concepts, there's a lot of reward that happens both extrinsically and intrinsically with students, and with ourselves as teachers, right? We see a lot of like growth and development. And I wanted to kind of ask, and I'm just going to put this to the group, what has been the most rewarding aspect of seeing this curriculum in your building that you've observed? And we can start with, I'll start with somebody. Start with Becky.
The most rewarding thing is those students that everybody complains about are really good students for me. And I hear it all the time, Jesse, gender neutral name, never gets their stuff done, or is always poking at so-and-so. And in gaming concepts, they're, getting their work done, and they're, getting to game and work as a team with some other people in the class, random people. So they're really learning those skills of working together. And that's nice to see that the kids that everyone complains about are, they do have that ability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just
Anything else?
listening to them strategize and talk about, hey, you move up here, you do this, you do that. And you've got leaders that come out, you've got followers that come out, but they're talking and making strategies that they're not doing in any other classes. And just like you said, you've got the ones that are the biggest pains in their regular classrooms that are perfect for you most of the time.
I've seen really similar things. One of the things that I don't know, I've really loved so far is some of the students I have who are quiet are some of the loudest students that I'm having to like sort of calm down playing some of these games. And so it's like showing a side of certain students that like I'm not really getting in a general education class. And I've never even really taught a elective class before. And so it's giving me sort of feelings that are more similar to when I do after school programs where kids want to be there and they're motivated, and yeah, it's just a totally different feeling than trying to teach the Constitution to kids who don't want to learn it.
Absolutely. And not to discredit the work that core subject teachers do, but elective teachers, which is what I was for the long time, that's where it's at, because everybody wants to be there mostly. So unless the counselor puts you in there, right? And then you don't want to.
100%. I teach math otherwise, so
Yeah.
it's a nice break.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and being able to see those quiet kids, or those kids that are kind of, ghosts that float through the building, come out of their shell, I think is one of the things that we really strive for to see as a teacher, right? You don't always get those moments. And I feel like, as we've had so many conversations with teachers around the country, especially, and with you guys mentioning it again too, this kind of theme, or this kind of, esports in general, is something that brings those kids and brings everyone together, and facilitates those moments a lot more than other types of activity or programming. So, we've talked about the success, but I'm sure that all of you have experienced some sort of like pushback or skepticism about, well, we're going to do video games in school, or you want to do, all we're doing is playing video games and all that stuff. So, what kind of resistance have you gotten, and how did you address it? I'm going to start with Tim on this one.
Honestly, I haven't had that experience so far.
Great.
My principal is the one who brought the program in. And so from like an administrator side, like, it's been the opposite of pushback. It's been all support. I mean, pretty much, like I'm not really having issues with parents either. I mean, we have so many students who end up rostered in elective classes that they don't want. And so like a student ending up in a gaming class is not really that different than them ending up in an art class that, is not seen as valuable or whatever by a parent or something like that. So, and none of the students are complaining, and that usually means that the parents don't end up complaining either. Usually I'm getting complaints when the students have an issue, and that's, been far from the case.
Anyone else? Other pushback that you've gotten about teaching gaming concepts or esports? Yeah, Becky.
So the only issue that we've had is the alignment with state core. Our middle schools don't have a gaming foundation standard or curriculum. So I have to put coding into it. We already have a creative coding class, but it's not the same. Like kids who code aren't typically kids who game. I mean, they like to, like coders like to game, but not all gamers like to code. And so that's been my biggest difficulty, is just the pushback from the district. So what I'm doing is this summer and last summer, I've been working with the State Board of Education to bring more standards. We have Utah standards, and we're leaning towards ISTE standards. And as we get closer to the ISTE standards, it'll link more to the gaming concepts. But I'm just pushing back to get more gaming concepts type of curriculum in middle school, because these kids need to learn that too. It's not just a high school thing. Community wise, everyone loves it. I'll be like, yeah, I teach math and gaming concepts, which is like video games. And they're like, I didn't have that when I was in school. Yeah, so the community is supportive, the district, most of the district administration supportive, my administrator's really supportive. It's just that CTE director that I've been working with. We gotta fit it in its bubble.
We're working on that as well at Heights. I mean, we're still trying to find a way to align it to CTE. They have, they're perfectly happy to pull us into the fold and say we're a part of the fold. However, they don't support us like if we were a business administration classroom or something. But they're working towards it. If we get cybersecurity in there, they really want, that is pretty important to them to do that. Pushback is, I mean, my district is full on board. We've got all the middle schools, all the high schools are doing it. It's, we have smaller classrooms. We only have 20 computers in the classroom. And we only have one, Timothy, what you were talking about, what you had, God dang it. Sorry.
The consoles.
Yeah, no, we've got 2 switches, and we have maybe
like
that's what you have
the
11
internet
of
getting onto the online.
Xboxes.
The Xbox.
Xboxes. We got 1 Xbox. That's all. But we're still trying to write grants and stuff to get more, but we don't have enough space. We've got a pretty small classroom. It fits just exactly the 20 computers. And then the Switch is taking up 4 or 5 kids now are starting to play that every day. And it's, I would like to see the room expanded. I'd love to see more of the shoutcasting and stuff, getting the shoutcasting booth in there and adding more computers and expanding the building or the room a little bit. But that we're working on it. We're trying to figure out what to do and how to make it bigger, and because we've got so many kids that want to take it, and kids want to take it over and over again.
Yeah.
It's the best part of their day because they can blow off steam from what had happened before. And I don't think I've had but one student in the entire time I've been teaching this that didn't like the class and was always mad at me and never smiled until we did we brought a person in that was telling us all about all the activities and all the things you could do in gaming. And she wanted to be a hairdresser. And he said, well, guess what? In gaming, they have this place, all these people are on TV and they need hairdressers. And it's the first time I ever saw her smile. And that was for like the last month of class. She smiled every day because she knew that she might be able to do a hairdressing thing at the gaming activity that we were having at the end of the year. She didn't show up for it, but she was excited about it, and she made my last month of school with her much more tolerable. So that's the only, I mean, parents have all been on board because their kids are excited about it. Just like Timothy said, they want something to make the kids want to come to school. So they don't really care if they're playing video games, but what we're doing is helping them play them safe. We even have a class on bad words. So we put up words they can use. If these kids get so angry and all of a sudden one of them will say, "You're such a goober," and everybody just stops and laughs, because that's exactly it. Just, they're allowed to be mad about it, but then everybody laughs about it, so it just takes all the mean out of it, and it's been a really good experience for my kids and for me.
About the
Well,
hairdresser, sorry, I'm gonna cut in, sorry, real quick. The hairdresser thing at in Wichita, they have that, they do a couple of huge events every year at their esports arena, and they had makeup, hairdresser, for all the shoutcasters and the streamers and everything, all the people that were going to be there, and there was kids running that, and it was pretty. It's not something you think about as being part of esports, but they need all those things, so it was cool to see that. Sorry, just to jump in there.
Oh no, I'm glad you did, because we also had a lawyer that contacted one of my kids that wanted to be a lawyer, Lars, and they've had a discussion, and he actually gave him some activities to do as a lawyer for esports, and this kid is thrilled. So it's been a very good experience.
and I think that's one of the things that's it's good to help the stakeholders understand that video gaming is the hook, but this is everywhere. And I like to make the comparison to the military, because my family's big into the military, and people think it's, guns and trenches. Well, there are veterinarians, there are doctors, there are lawyers, there are, all of these things, that human resources, and there's a post office, there's all of these things that you don't think about. And so I love it when schools do career fairs in esports, and they have someone like hair and makeup. That's something that people don't think about, but it's an exploding arena. For a good word, I guess, an appropriate word. It's just an exploding arena where, once upon a time, my kids, one of them's 20, he wanted to be a shoutcaster, a content creator. And once upon a time, I kind of poo-pooed on that. And it's more and more companies need content creators for their Facebook, for their LinkedIn, for their Twitter. That's how they're reaching their consumers. So these skills are definitely transferable, where right now it's focused on esports because that's the students, they're focused on esports and video games. But these are transferable skills into, banking. They need a social media manager. They need all of these things. Okay, well, Tim, you had mentioned that you had never taught an elective course. Is that right? Did you say you'd never really taught an elective course?
Yeah, this is my first one.
So what kind of professional development opportunities or resources have been beneficial to you in enhancing your skills and knowledge and teaching gaming concepts? I guess it's okay to say none, or
Well, it's all right. So there's another teacher at my school who's teaching 3 sections of the class, and he teaches like photo media. And so I'm teaching the class in his room, and he's on his like prep period, so he doesn't have a class at the time. And so I've honestly benefited a lot because I have the last class in like a 2-day cycle. So he's pretty much always like 1 day ahead of me and in the room. And he's kind of in charge of, all the equipment and stuff. So he's kind of been the one ground testing everything, and is like already has systems in place for managing equipment, putting everything away, just like how his room is run. And so in a lot of ways, I've really just kind of been piggybacking off of him and kind of taking his lead, especially since like, from an elective standpoint, using technology, working at an inner city school, like keeping that stuff safe and making sure that we can use it day in and day out with more and more students is like a huge responsibility. And so, yeah, that's kind of been where I've been getting a lot of my help is just from, other teachers.
Rebecca, I'm going to jump down to you because I know what happened with your professional development. So will you talk about yours a little bit?
Well, a lot of it has been through the district. You guys came down and trained us. And it was just a lot of intensive kind of stuff that we did right at the beginning. And then once we added it to the class, it was a little different. You just had to go by the seat of your pants. And we have great support from downtown. The head of our technology department supports us. We have a dedicated IT person from downtown that if we have any issues, he comes out and tries to fix them. So anytime that I've had any issues too, I've been able to call and talk to someone at Game Plan, and they have helped me through it. Everything has just been really seamless. I haven't had a whole lot of trouble. So it's been very nice. And each week we learn something new, and every time I talk to him, something new's happening, and I'm like, oh, cool. This is, you've just made my life easier. So it's the training is good and really helps us understand everything that's going on, but the support afterwards is what's really important, and we really get a lot of support.
Great. So Tim's kind of done the mentor. You've had a personal mentor. Rebecca's, it's been a little more formal, and Generation Esports offers professional development. So that's kind of fun. Becky, tell us a little bit about what you've had.
Well, we're out in Utah. So I've used videos from the website just to learn, plus just support from Alex and the team when we're setting up our new terms and setting up the classes and archiving classes and learning just the different modules and things. So we've pretty much been kind of in the middle. I teach one section. Kyle teaches like 8. He's a PE teacher, but he pretty much follows my lead because I just dive in and start dissecting videos, and I'm kind of a product of the Google. Like I just Google everything. So,
yeah.
But the support is there if I need it for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's great that you guys, I'm seeing a lot of support from your administration. It's what I'm hearing from at least the panel we have here. So I would recommend if you're looking to get into this, chatting with your administrator first, and making sure that they're on board is a key strategy to this working out for you. Because if they don't have buy-in for it, and you bring the kids, we hear that a lot. Bring the kids with you for them to propose this to the administration, and then the first questions, well, who's going to teach it, who's going to sponsor it, and you'll be right there with them, ready to give them that endorsement. So administration is key on that. So we know that we get the problem with teachers or other teachers or administrators or parents concerned about the content that you're teaching in an esports class or in a video game class, as some people like to categorize it. But a second part of that is screen time, and it's all over the place on screen time is beneficial, screen time is not beneficial, it's harmful, it's helpful, and everywhere in between. So have you gotten any problems with screen time or any concerns with screen time as a result of doing this course or doing something in this field? Tim?
I don't know. I mean, I'd kind of just say no, but it's been interesting because like our school, we are a no cell phone school. We have yonder bags, these like locking bags that they put their phones in, but basically all of our students know how to get them out of them. And it's like this huge cat and mouse game, and you know, so I don't know, we have one-to-one laptops, and because of the pandemic and whatnot, we were really encouraged to make those of use. And so I don't know, it's kind of become one of those things where I don't really see much discussion around like whether there's too much screen time or whatnot, as much as it's are they off of their phones, and not seeing nearly as much phone use in gaming concepts, and that's because they are busy. So that's been pretty cool. There's always going to be the students who are like kind of socially driven and aren't that into gaming and got kind of put in the course. But I mean, those students haven't been behavior issues in the class because there's so many other students who are really invested. And I don't know, the students certainly aren't complaining about screen time.
Yeah, and we've seen that across the board too, is that, students that are involved in gaming concepts and some of the other curriculum that we offer through gaming concepts are not distracted or not involved with their phone because they are engaged in the curriculum or in the gaming or in the purposeful play, and that has replaced their need for their phone. And we've seen a lot less distraction by that. Any other takes on that from Becky or Rebecca?
Just parrot the same thing. We're middle school. We have a lot of kids on cell phones. We don't have a no cell phone policy. It's up to the teacher discretion. But we're one-to-one Chromebooks, and so they always have their devices. And so it's just something that they have to learn how to navigate. And so why not do it?
Absolutely.
Rebecca, I don't want to leave you out, but but I can also move on.
We also have a no cell phone policy. Bell to bell, no cell is what they call it, which makes the kids want to use their phones more often, as far as I'm concerned. But in the gaming classroom, not as much. I might have 2 or 3 kids and I'll just say, anything good on your phone I need to see? And then we move on. But screen time is more difficult at night at their homes than it is at school. I don't think they have screen time nearly as much. I'll have kids come in that are exhausted, that have been up all night playing games. And I'm like, okay, you've got core classes today. Maybe you need to just rest and not do any games today. And they'll do that. They'll just stop and go, okay, miss, thanks. And then the next day they'll come back and then they're ready to play at school. So we also talk about sleep and how important it is and how they need to start getting more of it. I had a kid ask me today, isn't 4 hours enough to sleep at night? I said, no, it's not. Well, this game plan says I need to get 8 to 10 hours. And I said, yes, you do. At your age, you should be sleeping that much. So, I mean, it is a discussion and it's something we put in their minds, but I think the screen time at home is more difficult or more than what they have at school.
Right. Something that Mike learned in his dissertation was that students were playing less video games at home when they could play them during the school time because there was a box that they could put it in. They had 90 minutes or 60 minutes or however long, and many of these games are quest based. So they'd go in and they'd have 60 or 90 minutes and they'd finish their quests, and then they'd be done for the day. And he has some great stories about how parents would tell him, we ate supper together with our daughter for the first time because she had done all of her video gaming that she needed to do. And so they were actually playing less at home than what they had before because they were getting it done in that boxed time at school. Another question, this is for all of you. So what advice would you give to teachers who are new to incorporating gaming concepts into their curriculum for the first time, based on your experiences? We have Rebecca, who's been doing it for 3 years. Becky, you've been doing it for 2 years now. Tim, this is your first year. We did that intentionally to kind of get a look on what does this look like? Maybe we'll start with Rebecca. that's been doing it for a while. You were one of our guinea pigs, Rebecca, Wichita was. And so
Yep.
what advice would you give?
Just think about your audience, know the kids that you have in the classroom. They're not going to all sit there with their hands in their laps and listen to your every word. You're teaching them the right way to do these games, but they may not listen to you today. But tomorrow they might hear what you have to say. I mean, I've had kids come back to me and say, you know, I stopped drinking those energy drinks, and you're right, it helps. So, I mean, at least one of them listened to me. That's all. You know, it's the starfish syndrome. You're going to help a lot of kids doing these classes because they have now a connection to the school that they didn't have before. And you need to find out what the key is to getting every student in your classroom wanting to be there, wanting to stay, and what's going to motivate them to stay in school and continue their careers so they can go on to further education, no matter what it might be. And just, you know, got to play with them and just decide and figure out what the right keys are to open their worlds up. That's it.
Wise words. Becky?
And my biggest thing is, remember to have fun. They get a lot of, structure, and it needs to be structured. I'm not saying don't structure it, but remember that you can have fun with them as well. They like to see that teachers are human and that we're not all just delivering lectures and making them memorize quadratic formulas, that, we can have some fun with them as well. So.
Tim, the new guy.
I really like that last thing, Becky, because I'm kind of in a similar position where I have students who I've taught in the past or I'm currently teaching, and we weren't able to game immediately at the beginning of the year. And so by the time we finally did, and the first system, the consoles we had were Switches. I personally play like Switch at home. I'm like dove way too deep into it in pandemic times, and so it was cool to be able to like kind of share that with students and to kind of like have it be like a mutual interest. So and that's not even like getting into just like it's just fun to game with students,
Right.
and they appreciate you like everyone sort of being on the same playing field to some degree.
And kind of to piggyback on that, I've heard fun. I think all three of you said fun. And I personally think we've taken the fun out of schools. And maybe that's one of the reasons I left, because I wasn't having fun. I wasn't having fun anymore. And there is an exodus of educators out of education. So I love hearing that the teachers are having fun. I'd often tease Mike because he was the one to beat. He's a great gamer and he was the person to beat in our class. And I'd walk by and I'd pat him on the back because I knew not to interrupt the game, and I'd just go, having fun, Mike, or working hard, Mike. And he'd be like, I am working. But I think there is a misconception with gaming concepts and esports, scholastic gaming in general, that we're not here to make better video game players. The kids are already great video game players. And so what are some of those life skills that they're learning from these classes? Most of you, or you're all talking primarily about the fundamentals class, that first class that they're taking. What are some of the skills that they're learning in that class? Because this isn't about making them better video gamers. Becky?
Collaboration, teamwork, and the independent things. Like we just did a lesson on who are our allies and who are our anti-heroes, and all of these people are in these kids' lives, and they need to be able to discern which ones are making their lives better and which ones are not making their lives better. So there's a lot of really great lessons on on mental health and physical health, and that as an old school gamer, I mean, I'm 52, I've been gaming since Pong. I've lost friends who've just drifted into video games, that they didn't have this social emotional learning part, and we would just get lost in games. And I mean, it's just a really good way to help get our kids grounded and make sure that they know that there's a world outside the games. And then there's like the collaboration and the teamwork and the posters and the PSAs, and it's just a really good, it's a good curriculum. I'm really glad that we have it.
And Becky, you're talking about, and I had forgotten, you're specifically talking about the middle school.
Yeah, I
course.
teach junior high, so we teach
Yes.
the middle schoolers, and so our games are a little bit more watered, more compact. I mean, we have the switches, and we do Rocket League a lot in Minecraft, but it's more to me about the emotional part, that these kids, as they go into high school, really have a good foundation on how to choose friends, and when to know when to cut ties with people who aren't good for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love that middle school course so much. It's just like a big story that they get to interact with. When I read it the first time, read through that book, it was like, man, this could have been really beneficial to a lot of people I know in middle school and stuff, because that transition's hard from, elementary school where everybody's friends holding hands to middle school where you're, alone in the lunchroom at that table and no one wants to sit with you, right? It's like, I mean, a cliff that kids get thrown off of, basically. So it's an amazing course that can really help out. So yeah, I didn't mean to cut anybody else off, but they wanted to talk about skills that these kids are doing. So
that middle school course is kind of that transition. It helps with that transition, and that was what it was intended to do. Is we saw that where do you talk about heroes and anti-heroes, and what we're really talking about is friends. I mean, it's friendship. And so it's really a course where you can talk about these things that don't fit into the regular curriculum without saying the counselor comes in and we're going to talk about friendship today, and the kids are like, done. I mean, heroes and anti-heroes in a video game, they all can, it's a connection. It's a real something that they can apply to their lives right now through a video game. And then eventually, like Rebecca said, they'll go, oh, that was sneaky. And that's what we're trying to do, be a little sneaky. Tim?
Yeah. I don't know, something I've noticed. So like there was a lesson about like people being toxic online that we covered pretty early in the year. And even just having students kind of mention, oh, you're being toxic, even if they're joking about it, it's still like a moment of reflection. And it's kind of interesting because even before I was teaching this class, I've taught classes that really like touch on like race and gender and sexuality and stuff. And so like when talking about those kinds of things, and you try to ask students about examples of these kinds of things in their lives, you don't always get them like, running to share. But one of the things in the past that I've kind of always gone to is just been like, so any girls in the room, have you ever experienced any harassment while doing online gaming? And without fail, I get students sharing stories. And so it's just kind of funny that it's not always the like exact lesson where this thing is like coming up and being shared, but like just so long as that conversation is ongoing, it means like when someone says something, it's like, oh, like I don't know, like what if you did that to a stranger? Because people like I don't know, students will always be saying things like, oh, we're just joking, oh, we know each other, we didn't mean it like that. And you don't really have that benefit of the doubt online in the same way. And so there's been a lot of sort of potential for just sort of addressing things on the fly that have already sort of come up as topics within some of the lessons.
The best time to teach about bullying is when bullying is happening.
Mhm.
But nobody's bullying in front of the teacher. But when you do something, because that's really what that lesson is completely about bullying. But if the way that we teach it in regular school is we call it a bullying lesson and then we lose the kids immediately. But when you talk about toxicity, if you say, how many of you have been bullied? Nobody's raising their hand. How many of you have been the bully? Nobody's raising their hand. But how many of you have experienced toxic behavior online? It's once again that it's okay. Everybody's experienced that. And so it's something we all have in common. And so I love that piece of it also. Rebecca, anything to share there?
Yeah, I apologize for it being so dark. My light burned out right before this happened. But I wanted to say that I retired 2 years ago after teaching the first class. And when I talked to my boss, I said, I don't want this course to go away. This is too important. I only taught one class and I could tell how important it was to these kids for this to be available to them. And he said, okay, put your money where your mouth is and come back and teach it. So I've done it for 2 years and I'm really retiring this year for sure, for real. But it has been the best 2 years of my life. I cannot imagine how much this course has brought so many kids joy and wanting to come to school and running as fast as they can so they don't miss the bus, and making sure they're not late so they have to go spend 5 minutes trying to get a tardy pass so they don't miss class. They're begging me to stay, asking me not to leave, and I'm like, honey, there's going to be somebody good teaching next year too, so everything's great. But how many teachers get that when they're retiring? Kids telling them, please don't leave, this is the greatest class ever. You just make it your own, and man, this has been the best feeling my entire life. And I taught for 30 years, so this is great. What a great way to end my career, and what a great program you guys put together. And I'm just going to thank you so much for what you guys have done. It's great.
Yeah,
Dang, we didn't even pay for that.
that's right. Thank you. I want to say I'm not telling everybody to leave in chat. I meant to hit a new line in paragraph there to put our YouTube channel, but I was waiting to put that in there, so I apologize for that. I'm not letting anybody go. Everybody stay. Nobody leave. Nobody leave. So I mean, this is so great because the curriculum is not about gaming. It's about transferable skills, and whether that's soft skills, digital life skills, employment, career skills, they bleed through the curriculum and into these kids' lives. And we as teachers see that. Like when I taught it, I saw kids taking graphic design information and apps that we use in gaming concepts and transferring that in business courses because they already know how to do that, or they're interested because in gaming concepts we learn about a lot of different things, and so that projects them into other career areas. So things like tech, or things like graphic design, or broadcast, or streaming and shoutcasting, right? And it all just kind of, I feel like gaming concepts is like the tip of the funnel, right? It's just the bottom, and then everything explodes from there, because everything does explode from there if that's what the kids are passionate about. You're starting from a common place of interest, and then where do you want to take that interest? And it can go anywhere, which is amazing to see, because even at my high school where I taught, and I had the gaming concepts course, they have actually moved upstairs, and now they're in the broadcast room. And so they're going to start doing streaming and shoutcasting in the broadcast booth. They have everything there in the whole room. So they've got gaming, they've got the sound booth, they've got the recording studio. It's like an all-in-one, like, gaming concepts ecosystem thing right there. It's like the ecosystem corner of the building. And it's awesome for them to think, and it was all facilitated by the kids. It always starts with the kids and their passions. So any last thoughts on, Christy, did you have another question that you wanted to get out there?
No, I think that's a great way to end it there, and good summary. Unless somebody from our attendees has something, or panelists, I can't thank you guys enough for taking your time. I know this is a tough time of year. I'm rooting for everybody. the
Just know you don't have any papers to grade with gaming concepts.
well, journals.
Lots of
Journals.
journals to grade, but not the papers.
And some like posters, but the posters
Posters,
are,
there you go.
we like the
Yeah.
posters.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions from the audience? Again, I so appreciate everybody. This will be up on our YouTube channel tomorrow. So if you need to share this with an administrator or a fellow teacher or somebody, be sure to do that. And I've thrown our YouTube channel in there. Please reach out to us if you need anything. If you have any questions about starting a program, we have everything on our website, or you can contact us, education@generationesports.com. And again, thank you so much to our panelists. You made it through another year or through your first year of gaming concepts and esports, and hopefully be many more to come, minus Rebecca. But who knows? Maybe you'll decide to keep going.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you.